A grief-stricken Gi-hun is left standing, a picture of sorrow, holding the precious baby in his arms. It is an utterly heart-wrenching sight to witness. I cannot even begin to articulate the pain. As if that were not enough, the surviving contestants form a truly horrifying unspoken pact. Their objective is completely reprehensible: to remove Gi-hun, the defenseless infant, and Min-soo in the following game. You can feel the palpable tension in the atmosphere, a promise of the dreadful horror that is imminent. Then, in a cruel mind game, the front man presents Gi-hun with a knife. He proposes that Gi-hun should eliminate the other players to save himself and the infant. The front man's words are venomous, promising that if he dispatches them in their sleep, he and the baby will secure everything. He poses the most spirit-breaking question. Player 456, do you still have faith in people? Back in the dormitory, Gi-hun returns to an almost oppressive silence, carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. As he observes, the front man recalls his own past when Il-nam made him an identical proposal. He remembers his indecision, the conflict he felt, and the choice he ultimately made. Confronted with certain demise, he chose to end the lives of his fellow players while they slumbered. It was a moment that completely fractured his spirit, and he has lived with that burden ever since. His only justification was the belief that anyone else would have done the same thing. And so the front man watches with keen anticipation as Gi-hun nears Jongdae, seemingly prepared to repeat the past. Yet, in a display of the most profound and beautiful resolve, Gi-hun halts. He recalls Saebuk's words, telling him he was a good person and should not act as the others did. Tears fill the front man's eyes as Gi-hun lowers the blade, a striking testament to the fact that he has lost this mental battle. Meanwhile, Noelle reaches a large vent outside the central building. With a single, perfectly placed shot, she demolishes the fan's motor, forging her own entry inside. She climbs into the narrow duct, beginning her infiltration of the facility. Concurrently, out on the misty sea, the father of the ailing girl attempts to escape. He is clutching a severe injury, a genuine hero battling against all odds for his daughter. Somewhere across the same hazy waters, Juno is drawn closer to the island. Just then, the boat's radio comes alive with the most terrifying voice imaginable. It is his own sibling, the front man, telling him to retreat or face certain doom. Junyo's response is pure, unfiltered valor, if that is what it takes. I get chills just contemplating his incredible bravery right now. Just contemplating his incredible bravery right now. The following morning, the final game is announced and the participants walk toward the arena. The following morning, the final game is announced and the participants walk toward the arena. In a perfectly executed move, Noelle slips through the vent and lands silently in the officers' quarters. She hears the run-in shower and hides, waiting for the right moment to act. When the officer emerges, he discovers the formidable Noelle aiming her weapon directly at him. She orders him to erase every single file they have on player 246, the ailing girl's father. He obeys without protest, but then he reveals the most stunning bombshell. He reveals that physical copies of all records are kept in the archives inside the front man's office. He adds that only he and the front man can access that top floor. In the meantime, the contestants arrive at the arena, which is a vast and silent area. In the center stand 3 large structures, each with a distinct shape of a square, a triangle, or a circle. This is going to be the most gripping final contest in the history of the games. This is going to be the most gripping final contest in the history of the games. One by one, the participants enter a lift that takes them to the top of the square tower. They are now standing on a wide platform high above the ground. From a high observation window, the sickeningly detached VIPs watch with gleeful expectation. And then the announcer's voice resounds, unveiling the name of this final savage game, Squid Game. Simultaneously, Noelle forces the officer to take her to the front man's office. As they enter the lift, he makes his move, lunging for her weapon in a stunning betrayal. They grapple with a viciousness that is truly horrifying to behold. The fight moves into the hallway, where the officer overpowers Noelle and throws her to the floor. He looms over her taunting and discloses the most dreadful connection. He reveals that he knows she collaborated with Player 246 at the theme park. She pleads with him to let them go, but he coldly tells her she has already gone too far. Then he draws a blade and attacks, but Noelle shows her fantastic reflexes, throwing him to the ground. The officer recovers quickly and shatters a glass over her head. As she lies injured, he tells her they are alike, as both are survivors from North Korea who have lost someone. He shares his own heartbreaking story, how he lost the one person he cherished because he could not acquire a single kidney. And then, in an act of unimaginable cruelty, he plunges the knife right into her kidney. It is one of the most crushing and personal assaults we have ever seen. As he turns to watch the game on the screens, Noelle moves quietly toward the lift. He mumbles that it is time for her to join her child in the hereafter, a genuinely fiendish thing to say. But when he spins around, he sees her grasping for the lift door, still resisting. She seizes the gun that had dropped earlier, and before he can even respond, she fires several shots into his chest. It is a moment of truly stunning and justified retribution. High on the tower, the announcer explains the rules for the final contest. Every 15 minutes, they must choose one person to push off the platform. If they fail to choose someone, everyone on that pillar will be eliminated. The tension is utterly tangible as all eyes instantly shift toward Gi-han and the infant. As the group advances toward them, Min-soo stands apart, totally lost in terrifying visions. He has a vision of Thanos, then Namu, reaching for him from below. The group decides to start the game, and Young Dae presses the button to begin the countdown. After a quick vote, they decide that Min-soo will be the first one to be pushed. As panic ensues, the calculating Mongi calmly seizes a long metal rod. Without a single moment of delay, he uses it to shove the tormented Min-soo off the structure. In his final moments, Min-soo pictures holding his daughter Semi's hand one last time before plunging to his demise. Back at sea, the chase team has player 246 trapped, but all hope is not gone. Just when everything seems lost, Junyo and the mercenary appear like avenging angels. They neutralize the pursuers in a breathtaking display of expertise and timing. After confirming his identity, Junio asks about the island's location. Player 246 indicates through the mist toward a faintly visible silhouette, the objective finally in view. Inside the front man's office, Noel finds the archives, which contain records of all the previous games. She even uncovers a wax figure of Chairman Il-Nam attired as Player 1. She desperately combs through the documents and at last finds what she seeks, Player 246's record. She has finally found the information she was searching for. Back in the arena, a narrow walkway extends to the next tower, the triangle. As the remaining contestants step onto the new platform, all gazes lock onto Gi-hun. Mongi shrewdly stops them from activating the timer, insisting they require a strategy first. The consensus is clear. The helpless infant must be the next one to be eliminated. Player 350 takes the rod and tells Gi-hun to place the baby at the end of it. But Gwaihun does not waver for an instant, showing incredible fortitude. He challenges them by asking what they will do in the next round after he is gone. Player 303 hesitates, and just then, Player 203 rashly slams the start button, plunging everything into disarray. The second round has formally begun, and the pressure is at its absolute peak. Tensions erupt as Player 203 and 353 start grappling for control of the rod. The situation on the structure becomes chaotic. Just as the disorder peaks, Mongi intervenes with another of his cunning ideas. They play rock, paper, scissors to decide who will face Gi-hun, and Player 336 loses. Their scheme is as craven as it is ingenious. They tie their jackets into a temporary rope around his waist. The plan is for him to gain Gi-hun's trust so they can pull them both toward the middle. Player 300 approaches cautiously, pretending to offer a fair drawing of lots. But Gi-hun is far too shrewd to be deceived by such a transparent trap. He sees directly through their deception and refuses to budge from his position. Then, Player 336 leaps forward, and the others start to pull with all their strength. But Gi-hun responds with a lightning speed, brandishing the blade the front man gave him. In one quick motion, he severs the rope completely, a truly fantastic move. Now Player 336 is wobbling precariously at the tower's edge with a blade at his throat. From behind, Mongi emerges with a rod and commits the most startling act yet. He thrusts Player 336 off the platform without a hint of remorse. Then he turns to Gi-hun and tells him that they are now on the same side. And just when you believe things cannot get any wilder, Mongi drops the most stunning revelation of the entire season. He asserts that he is the infant's father. Gi-hun has a flashback and realizes that Mongi could be telling the truth. As this drama plays out, the other participants devise the most repulsive scheme imaginable. They resolve to assault Player 39, their lunchbox, and haul him to the next tower to be sacrificed. It is an act of pure, unfiltered spinelessness and brutality. It is an act of pure, unfiltered spinelessness and brutality. But Gi-hun, the unwavering moral center of this entire tale, cannot allow it to happen. He intervenes with his blade, stating that they must draw lots fairly. The contestants refuse, and a huge, violent melee erupts on the platform. Player 350 attacks Mangi, while player 203 attacks Guihan. Mangi swiftly overpowers 353 and pushes him off the tower to his doom. Guihan, displaying some impressive new blade skills, succeeds in wounding player 203. Only player 100 is left, desperately pleading for his life. He proposes to take only a portion of the prize money, but Mangi's avarice is insatiable. Mangi callously calculates that he will receive more money if he shoves him off. And thus, with zero hesitation, he pushes player 100 to his demise. Then, in a last act of stunning defiance, the injured player 39 drags himself to the ledge. He proclaims that he will not be their scapegoat and throws himself from the tower. Now just 3 are left, the honorable Gihun, the innocent infant, and the deceitful Mangi. As they prepare to go to the final tower, Mangi crosses first and blocks the walkway with the rod. He demands that Gihun surrender the child, his professed daughter, and remain behind to perish. It is the ultimate betrayal, a father prepared to sacrifice his own child for wealth. As this happens, the front man is informed that a boat is approaching the island. It is Junyo who puts on scuba gear to infiltrate the island alone. And in the most soul-crushing scene, Noelle at last finds her own file in the archives. She peruses a haunting note confirming that her beautiful daughter has passed away. She breaks down in tears, her whole world shattering in that one awful moment. Back in the arena, Gihun makes what appears to be a decision to surrender. He carefully lowers the infant onto the walkway and steps back as Mangi pulls her toward him. But it is all a component of the most ingenious plan you have ever witnessed. While Mangi is preoccupied, Gihun pulls the knife from player 203's body. Just as the walkway begins to retract, Gihun executes an incredible split-second leap through the air. He lands on the last tower, prepared to face Mangi in the final confrontation. The pair clashes with a ferocity and desperation that is truly astonishing. Mangi strikes the knife away and then does the unimaginable, dangling the infant over the side. Gihun is left with no choice but to release the blade and back away. The instant he is clear, Mangi dives for the knife, and the struggle resumes with even greater ferocity. They wrestle intensely until they both roll off the side of the tower in a terrifying plunge. In a moment of sheer adrenaline-powered desperation, Guihun succeeds in grabbing an exposed metal bar. Mangi holds on to Gihun's jacket, but the fabric begins to tear from the strain. The sleeve tears completely off, and Mangi plummets to his demise in the chasm below. Gihun pulls himself back up, injured and exhausted, and then he has a realization. He realizes they never pressed the start button for the final round, which means Mangi's death did not count. In the control room, an officer finds Noelle, who has burned the archives and is now holding a gun to her head. At that precise moment, Gihun walks slowly toward the luminous button and activates it. A final 15-minute countdown begins, ticking down the time he has left. As the infant's cries resound, Noelle watches Gihun, her own choice hanging in the balance. With just 3 minutes remaining, Gihun holds the infant in his arms, an image of pure devotion and sacrifice. He kisses her forehead and murmurs a final, potent message to the observant frontman. We are not horses. We are humans. And then Gi-hun takes a final breath and falls backward from the ledge, a genuine hero's conclusion. His altruistic act is so moving that it inspires Noelle to lower her weapon and choose life. It even rouses the final remnants of humanity buried deep within the front man himself. The front man then orders a full evacuation and activates the island's self-destruct sequence. The front man then orders a full evacuation and activates the island's self-destruct sequence. Juno, now inside the facility, sees a bomb with the same countdown timer. The front man nears Gi-hun's still form, at last realizing he has lost this fight for a man's spirit. Meanwhile, Junyo discovers the deserted VIP lounge and makes eye contact with his sibling, who is now holding the infant. Junyo yells at him, demanding an explanation, but the front man merely turns and departs. Helicopters and a large cargo ship evacuate all personnel, including Noelle, who escaped during the confusion. Junyo executes a bold escape through a submerged tunnel, just as the whole island erupts in a colossal explosion. It is one of the most cinematic and breathtaking escapes I have ever seen. 6 months later, Noelle is at a theme park meeting the father of the girl, whose daughter is now healthy. She then receives a call from a broker with a possible lead on her own child in China, a fresh glimmer of hope. In a different part of the city, Junyo returns to his flat and discovers the most incredible surprise. The infant is there, enveloped in a player's jacket, with a credit card holding the complete 45.6 billion won prize money. We also witness the beautiful, emotional reunion of Sabyok's mother and brother, a promise finally kept. The front man travels to Los Angeles to find Gi-hun's daughter. He tells her that her father has died and gives her a box containing his jacket and a credit card with the prize money. This action suggests that he feels remorse for what happened. In the last haunting scene, the front man sees the recruiter, Hella, playing Dakji on a street corner, and they exchange a look of quiet, menacing recognition, leaving us breathless for what happens next.